Okay everyone, so we're going to do our very first video here. We're going to do kind of a start to finish job on this brand new cold steel kudu. Brand new, bought it solely for the purposes of making this video. So to start off with, we're going to talk about a couple things while I tape this up and get this guy ready to go. It comes with this decent enough edge. Can always have a little sharper though. So while I'm doing this here, we're going to talk about cleanliness. When you're sharpening, you are dealing with abrasives. Makes sense, right? But cross-contamination is the bane of a sharpener, because all it takes is one little metal part or one little abrasive particle from your 150 grit stone to contaminate your 2000 grit stone and wreck your 2000 grit stone finish and negatively affect its performance. So, for the Edge Pro crowd, right in here where it holds the stones needs to be really clean. The blade table needs to be clean and taped. If you're really OCD, you can change the tape every stone, but I'm not that crazy. But definitely give it a wipe, in between stones. And strops, same thing. In between strops, wipe off the knife. Don't contaminate your strops. Store them separately. We'll talk more about that once we get to the stropping video. Just finished taping this guy up here. And so on this knife, I'm going to do a progression of 4 stones, and then we will finish up just on a naked kangaroo leather strop. And the stones that I'm using is from left to right, we've got the 150 Nubatama, we have the 1K Shapton Pro, we've got the brand new 2K Nubatama Speckled. This is very new stone. And then we're going to finish off with the 5K Shapton Pro. Okay, so this is a cheap knife, I'm not going to spend too much time worrying about taping it up, but you can see it's taped up. I don't want this flap along the spine because it will affect how the knife sits on the blade table, so we'll get rid of that. Good enough. Make sure I'm still on camera here. Okay. So we'll take our angle cube, zero it out on the table. Take our stone, and I'm going to. This is a pretty soft steel. It's Krupp 4116. So it's relatively soft. So we're going to go relatively steep on this guy. I think we're going to do right around, we'll probably do like 18 or 20 degrees per side. Yeah, that's 20 right there. Pretty close to 20. Oh, just a touch. Can really drive you nuts if you let it, but so that's 20 degrees per side right there. So we'll give our 150 Nubatama quick douche here. You can see this is a very porous stone. It releases abrasive relatively quickly, but it's also relatively fast compared to a lot of other stones in this grit range without going to diamonds. A great combination is the 140 Atoma and the 150 Nubatama. So you go to the 140 Atoma to do all your establish your geometry, correct any repairs, anything like that, and then use the 150 Nubatama to remove those scratches. So we'll get started here. Blades firmly on the blade table. Take a quick stroke, see where we're at. That looks pretty good. So this is the noisy part, by the way. Some people move the knife on the table to get the edge. The only time I really move the knife is if it's a large knife. If the edge comes behind the blade table a little bit, I don't worry about it. Just hold the knife in the same spot every time you sharpen it, and it will stay the same. See stones changing colors. It removes metal very quickly, and it releases abrasive relatively quickly as well. You can see there's quite a bit of mud here. Just give it a spray going. And we'll check for a burr here. Okay, so we've got a burr in spots. A little more down the heel. Okay. Yeah, burr all the way down to the heel now, so we're going to swap over to the other side. Try not to do that. To avoid doing that, you see it wants to roll off the edge there. I put my thumb on this half of the guide rod so that the pressure is pushing the stone down this way. Slow down near the tip, and that way the stone doesn't want to roll off the edge like that. With this stone, that little bit of damage is probably already gone, but we'll make sure. See how dirty the blade table gets? We give it a quick wipe. Pardon the technical difficulty. So we're going to keep working on this guy. We're just about done with the 150 Nubatama. It's a pretty quick stone. So. You can see all the abrasive on the blade table, so we got to make sure we keep that clean. The blade's taped right now, but before we move over to our next stone, we really need to be sure that this is clean. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, it's not quite a burr there yet. So I'll have to do some more here on this side. Got a burr up here, not quite down here yet though. It doesn't sound pretty, but it works pretty good. Okay. Burr down to here. Still need some more work down there. So, probably going to flip sides just to keep things even. Otherwise, this side, the bevel will get quite large compared to this side. The Edge Pro has this habit of bringing out discrepancies in factory grinds. So if one side's ground a little more than the other, then it'll make the bevels appear to be of a different size. It don't take much. See the abrasive just really piling up there? This is a quick stone. This is why. So we've got a burr just about all the way down to the heel here. Looks to me like there's probably a slight overgrind right in here, this last little bit, which is not uncommon. If I wanted to take that out, I'd have to take away however much metal requires to be removed to get rid of that along the entire length of the blade. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I'm going to go rinse this guy off, clean this up, and get ready to go to the 1K, so I'll be right back. Okay, so we're ready to keep going here. You'll notice I'm not setting the drill stock collar until just now. I don't set it until after I'm done with the very first stone, because the coarse stones tend to be the soft stones, so they're going to change the most throughout your sharpening, right? So this stone was, so thick when I started, and I took off a layer. So if I'd set it before I wore some of the stone down, then it would still be set for the stone's stock height. Hopefully I'm making sense here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this right now. And I cleaned up the blade table, didn't change the tape, cleaned up the blade table, cleaned up the knife. And now we're going to move on to the 1K Shapton Pro. Okay. So, before we move on here, I'm going to show you how to feel for a burr. So, as you sharpen on one side of the knife, the burr forms on the opposite side. So we finished off sharpening this side of the bevel. So we're going to feel burr on this side, which we do. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'm going to come around here. No scratch. Scratch. Hopefully you can hear that. And you'll also see little fibers being grabbed. The camera will focus. Maybe not. But the burr will also grab fibers from a towel, whichever way you drag it. So, interesting note. Moving on to the 1K, so we finished off on this side. So we're going to start on this side. Yep. I formed quite a large burr just for the purposes of this video. I really don't like forming that large of a burr, or even forming a burr at all if I don't have to. We'll talk more about that in the advanced series. Removing metal very quickly, even at the 1K level. The 1K Shapton has no problems removing the 150 Nubatama scratches. Now that the bevel's been established and the geometry is all set to where we want it at, things move pretty quickly at this stage. You know, I could probably just about move on right now as is, but I'm going to make one more pass on each side just for the sake of being thorough. If you're chasing a mirror polish or anything like that, you know, looking for fancy aesthetics, all your work is in your low end. You know, removing the first stone or the first two stone scratch patterns is really key. Otherwise, they will come back to haunt you once you start getting up to those progressively finer finishes. If you're out past the blade table, don't put a lot of pressure or you will bend the knife, especially a soft knife like this, and it will change the geometry. I'm just using the weight of the stone. Literally, that's it. You can see the tape's rolling up a little bit. This is a personal knife. It's a cheap knife. I'm not too worried about it. One of these days I'm going to get around to doing some comparisons and looking at different types of tapes to see which ones hold up better. I think electrical tape would be a good candidate, but I haven't tried it yet. Okay, so yeah, things are looking good. Definitely sharper than it was from the factory. You know, definitely significantly sharper. So, finish looks nice and even on both sides. So I'm happy with that. We'll clean up here and skip on to the 2K. I think I'll leave the camera running because this one's not going to take very long. Okay, and we're back. So, I'm done with the 1K. So we're going to go to the 2K Nubatama Speckled. This is brand new stone. They haven't really been around yet. Haven't seen too many reviews or anything like that. So quickly go over it here. It's a great 2K stone. It is slightly porous, so it does require 2-3 minutes soak. It doesn't take much. It leaves a nice even finish, even under the microscope, and it's a cost-effective addition to the Nubatama series, because all the other stones in the 2K, 3K range are kind of pricey, so that's just rounding out that series. So you can see now it's holding its water well, which is great. So we'll give it a quick splash and we'll get to it. This stone does not start polishing. There are some 2Ks out there that like to polish, and this stone doesn't really fill that role. It leaves a nice even misty finish. It's brighter than a 1K finish, but I wouldn't call it a polish. You can't see a reflection at all. But this stone transitions very nicely to other polishing stones, such as the 5K Shapton that we're going to be moving on to next. Hopefully in one go this time. This stone is fast. You can see metal removal is still quite quick. And at this point, things move pretty quickly. Give it another quick splash. Swap sides. It's not a particularly muddy stone, but there is some buildup. This stone does not load at all. A popular stone is the 2K green brick. I'm personally not a fan of that stone. I find that it loads up very quickly, and it's just a general pain to use. I have a Nagura for it as well, and even with the Nagura, it just loads so quickly that it's not enjoyable to use. Some people really like it. You know, it's a cheap stone, but I feel that this is a much better value. The difference between cost and value. Again, keeping the blade table clean. Like no loading at all. It's a great stone in that regard. It's a smooth feedback, but you can still definitely feel it removing metal. I took a closer look at this knife while I was cleaning up in between clips, and yeah, there is a slight overgrind here on this side, right near the heel. It's actually a decent overgrind, so it would take quite a bit of metal removal to get that completely gone. So for those types of things, I feel that it's better to let them come out with future sharpenings. But you know, if you're really OCD or you're looking for the perfect finish, well, you can correct it, but it's just, you know, it's time consuming, and it's an aesthetic issue, not a performance issue in my opinion. And once we start finishing up, it will become more visible, and I'll show you guys. We're just about done on this stone now. Okay. Take a look here. Looks good. Clean up the blade table. This guy aside to be lapped. Clean up the stone holder. Okay. Throw that shop towel away. We have a fresh piece here. And go on to the 5K. The 5K is quite a bit harder than any of the three previous stones we just used. So you will probably hear a difference. This thing is splash and go. It doesn't absorb any water at all. Alrighty. Just immediate glass-like feedback. Just a stray piece of abrasive in here somewhere. Probably from underneath the tape. So hopefully it didn't scratch our finish, but it probably did. Which is okay, because, you know, this is a cheap knife. This is the knife that I have lots of these. You know, they're the knives that I give to non-knife people to to cut things so that they don't wreck the good knife that's in my pocket. I normally have one of these on me. They're littered about my house. You know, they're just a cheap knife to have around. You can see the stone does, I wouldn't call it loading, but you do see deposits embedded into the stone. It doesn't interfere with the stone's qualities unless you let it really load up. So I wouldn't call it loading, but you do see deposits on the stone. Shaptons just eat up metal. I mean, the black stuff that you're seeing is all metal. This stone doesn't really release a whole lot of abrasive. When it comes time to lap it, it's like 2 strokes on a 1200 Tacoma and it's done. Like it doesn't dish. It's a great all-around stone. The Shaptons have some quirks in that, you know, they're very unforgiving. With this thing, you're either hitting the edge of the edge or you're not. So you really have to be sure that your drill stop collar is set and that everything's tickety-boo. Otherwise, you'll be sitting here and polishing, and the bevel will be getting really pretty, but it's not really going to get any sharper. You won't be able to figure out why, because it's an unforgiving stone. If you're a freehander, it's an unforgiving stone in that it doesn't really build any mud, so it'd be the same issue. The bevel on this side of the knife did get a little bit larger than the other side. I'm not too worried about it. If this was a customer's knife or a knife that I cared more about, I would grind more on this side to make the bevels match up better, because this bevel is larger, so we'd grind more on this side. The camera doesn't stay on for very long, so we're just going to finish up here at the 5K, and then we'll strop. I was deciding whether to freehand or strop on the Edge Pro. I think we're gonna strop on the Edge Pro. I alternate quite a bit in the finishing stages here because I want to keep burr formation minimal. You know, in the earlier stages, I'm not too concerned about burr formation. If I have to do a lot of repairs or something, I get a big burr on one side, well, I'm not one of those people that breaks off a burr. I don't like doing that, you know, drawing it through cork or felt or whatever. There's a variety of reasons. You know, we'll go over that in future videos. Have a look here. That's a pretty bevel. You know, people would call this a mirror polish. It's getting there. It's in the beginning stages. You know, this is 5,000 grit. I've got stuff that goes to 1.2 million grit. So this is kind of like a mid grit. But in all seriousness, this will be a great performing knife. Great performing edge. Okay, so clean that guy up. I'll let you take a look at bevel. Yeah, so you can see it's shiny. Okay, so clean up our blade table. And I think we're going to go to an Edge Pro strop. So this is 5,000 grit, so it's kind of right around like the 3 micron range. So I think we're going to go to 1 micron. We'll go to 1 micron polycrystalline diamond. We're going to go over what all the different strops and abrasives and stuff are in future videos. Okay, so before we take this guy out and touch anything, I'll take a fresh piece of paper towel, clean up my hands. I'd go wash them typically. Go over the blade table one more time and the stone holder. We do not want anything contaminating the strop. So I can make me a little spacer plate so that when you're using the drill stop collar, your strop actually does not have to touch this in case there's any stray pieces of abrasive. So I'm using the nano cloth, so we'll go to the nano cloth side here. Just like that. And take this guy out just gently. Handle your strops by the sides, not the faces. Make sure they're labeled and that the bag that they go into is labeled to prevent cross-contamination. You might notice a recurring theme here. This is all important stuff. This is 1 micron polycrystalline diamond on nano cloth. One pass. We'll just make a couple quick passes just to push the edge a little bit further. A bit of water there. Another quick passes. Other side. The polycrystalline on nano cloth is actually so aggressive, you can form a burr if you work one side too much. Okay, so clean spot here. Wipe this guy off. Take a quick look. It's really nice bevel. So we'll take the tape off because that's as far as we're going to go with this knife. And clean it up and do a couple quick cutting demos. Nothing too fancy. Make sure if you're spraying anything, you're not spraying your strops. Okay, see what it does. Printer paper is the standard, it would seem. So yeah, it's pretty sharp. Push cuts, not a problem. See how far out we can go. Probably right about, yeah, so over an inch out. Yep, that's more than sharp enough for the knife's intended uses. Tear there. A polycrystalline diamond, that is aggressive stuff. So we'll see if we can show you the overgrind right near the heel. Why is this guy not focusing? Okay, I'll have to figure that one out later. But, that's mirror polish, you know, 5,000 grit, lightly stropped. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos. Thank you very much.